Hi, guys.
Hey, welcome back to episode number 2.
We're so excited to be recording yet another episode for you guys.
We've been looking forward to it for the last 2 weeks, and we're finally here.
And we just wanted to thank everyone for your support and listening. Guys, we had around 150 listeners between our two platforms.
That is absolutely insane. We're just so grateful for everyone who tuned in and listened. The overwhelming support is really just so amazing and something we could have asked for more.
Yeah, so thank you guys for that. And we can't wait for you guys to listen to more episodes.
Today, Sicily is going to walk us through her health journey and what it looked like to go through the stomach issues that she had, eliminating foods that were inflammatory to her diet, integrating practices from a functional medicine doctor. So Cicely, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. So short story that I always tell people when they just ask about food or just anything is I'm gluten and dairy free. That's always just kind of a quick little glimpse into things. The long version, which we'll get into today, starts kind of all the way back in 8th grade. And honestly, it probably started literally as a baby, but it really started to notice all the pain in my stomach in 8th grade. I got these really bad cramps, and they were in line with my belly button, and it was abdominal pain. And so it wasn't connected to hormones or periods or anything like that. And I was always super bloated. I couldn't eat anything without feeling good. Yet at the same time, I was hungry all the time.
Did the stomach pain come at a certain time, or did you start to notice a pattern with the stomach pain?
Yeah, I started to notice it would kind of get worse the more stressed I got. Oh. And so it wasn't necessarily something I was able to connect until later on, but the end of 8th grade is when I really started to notice all of my stomach issues. And that was when I was graduating 8th grade. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about what high school I was going to go to. I was leaving my friends. A lot of change. I don't do well with change.
Yeah, no, you do not.
And so that was kind of something that I was very stressed about, very anxious before I even knew that I had anxiety. And so my stomach started to get worse.
Okay.
But I had never really connected it. All I kind of knew was that throughout middle school and even the beginning of high school, there were lots of foods that just kind of hurt. I honestly thought that my stomach hurting all the time was normal.
Yeah.
I didn't know any different. And so I just kind of thought, I always kind of in my head knew when I have pizza at a friend's house, my stomach's going to hurt. I'm not going to eat it if I'm sleeping over, or different things like that. But I never put it together that wouldn't be normal. I also my parents would get so frustrated with this, but I would attribute it to certain restaurants. So I wouldn't want to go back. And again, this is my anxiety for sure, but I wouldn't want to go back to certain restaurants. And I was attributing it to all these things. I remember there's an Italian restaurant my family loved going to. And I was no, I hate that place. The garlic hurts my stomach. I always attributed it to just different things. And it got to the point where my family was well, we can't go to any restaurants because you don't like any of them. And I was no, I love them, but it hurts my stomach.
Yeah, that's wild. And it's so interesting that you say you think it's normal. And I think a lot of people have that same feeling before you really talk about it or go see a doctor, you think these feelings are normal because it's all you know and no one's talking about it.
Yeah. And I mean, it is. It's so crazy that you're not having a conversation with your friends about oh, your stomach doesn't hurt after you eat these things.
No.
You just think, and now feeling better, it's so wild to think that we just kind of, and so many people just kind of sit in that pain because they don't know any different.
And before you have to think about it. You have to okay, I'm going to eat this. How do I feel after? And it takes a lot of brain power. You got to be committed to finding the issue.
Yeah. And 8th grade me was not trying to think about what the issue was. I was just Mom, my stomach hurts. Someone solve this for me. So I went to a doctor, and they ended up sending me to a gastro. And so then I went to the gastro, and they were I had some x-rays done, which I didn't remember getting done. My dad told me about that today. I had x-rays done. I got a CAT scan done.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then I also had a panel done for celiac to see if I was celiac.
Okay.
Because that was kind of the one thing that they were everything you're explaining really sounds like celiac.
Do you know what they were trying to find in that x-ray? If there was intestinal,
yeah,
inflammation or
I think they were looking at structurally to make sure that there was nothing off, because I had no one had ever really checked that for me in my life, right? Like, I guess there could be something off structurally there and intestinal, I don't know. They didn't find anything other than they found some extra fluid in my stomach through the CAT scan, and very much so the way, and not to like hate against doctors, but very much so the way of kind of like a theme of this story for me is that I wasn't really getting answers from doctors. So they told me there's some fluid in your stomach, it'll go away over time. That's probably what's causing the pain.
Yeah, we're going to run a bunch of tests that your insurance is going to have to pay for, and you're going to be fine, quote unquote fine.
Yep. So I would have, quote unquote, be fine after this fluid just kind of disappeared in my stomach. And it also then becomes kind of like, some of it is a mental game. And so I very much was convinced that just over time, this fluid would go away. Then come high school, I was still experiencing that same pain. It wasn't consistently there all the time. It was very much so it would flare up. My freshman year was great. Like, I don't remember that much pain with food. Again, just kind of the normal, like, uncomfort that I'd always felt around food that I didn't know wasn't normal. And sophomore year, it started to get a bit worse. But my sophomore year, I also struggled with really bad depression and was like just in and out of friend groups and just like, you know, the good old high school, like, inconsistency.
Okay. The change again.
Yep, again with the change. And so junior year is when I started to notice just my stomach was getting even worse. It just like almost always hurt. I like remember being hungry all the time and being like, what the heck? Like, I'm eating a lot of food. Like, I don't understand this.
So you were eating.
And so I went to see a gastroenterologist on March 13th, 2020. The literal dreaded date that everyone remembers.
Yep, I remember.
That Friday.
The 12th and the 13th and the 12th.
Like, I remember my dad meeting me after school to go to this doctor's appointment. And we went and we're talking with him. And I vividly remember sitting there and just, like, explaining to him how I felt. And not that it felt like he wasn't listening to me, but there wasn't, like, it didn't really feel like he was connecting with me and being, like, almost sympathizing. Like, I really wanted him to kind of sympathize with, like, yeah, I get how you're feeling. Like, I know patients that have felt like this before, something.
Of course.
It very much so felt like this is just how we treat every patient. This is what we're going to do. And he wanted to do a GI, like, scope, which is, like, very invasive. And I was still kind of young, and my dad was very like, we are not doing a scope. You don't need that, whatever. And then he wanted to do blood work. Again, got the blood work done, comes back normal. Did not do the scope. Also, COVID then. And so no one left their house.
We're not going to the doctor.
Yeah, no one left their house for 4 months anyways, which kind of worked out well in the way of I didn't necessarily want to go back to that doctor, but we also still now didn't have any answers again. Like, we were kind of back to the drawing board yet again. Over COVID, we tried some, like, different diets. So I think I was on a Mediterranean diet for a while, which good. I loved. Yeah. It was awesome. I still got to eat, like, a few cheeses, so I was happy about that. Because I had, like, dabbled a little bit with, like, a keto and then paleo diets before.
Throughout high school?
Yeah. And just kind of at different times. Like, when my stomach would get bad, my parents would be like, okay, maybe, like, let's try this. And my mom at the time was kind of going through, she was learning how to become a health coach and, like, her lifestyle coaching. And so we very quickly were, like, realizing that diets aren't really good solutions, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, but aren't, like, easy solutions just for every individual.
Not at all.
And so even though I was trying the Mediterranean diet, we were kind of trying to stay away from the keto and the paleo and the diets that are preached to just, like, help everybody. And I started to feel a little bit better with the Mediterranean diet, but again, my body just kind of would adapt to it. So for, like, a few weeks, it would be okay.
Interesting.
And then my body would just adapt to it and, like, get used to it. It was the same, like, in 8th grade, I think I got, when my stomach was really bad, the doctor gave me some, like, pills for my cramps. And they were super helpful at first. And then I just kind of got used to them and wanted to be taking more of them, and then they weren't really helping. And
no
then,
long-term
yes,
solutions.
exactly, just masking the cause, which was the whole thing with every doctor I saw.
Or even like give me an answer. Like
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
Yeah, I felt very like isolated in that because I didn't have a why, and I was very like, I felt like I'm messed up. Like there's something wrong innately with me that I can't just eat food like a normal human being.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
So then, like the start of senior year of high school, so this is kind of 4 years after now we've like started this whole journey and been to a few different doctors. And
had you made any long-term changes at that point? So senior year of high school, you were still eating almost
Normal.
everything. Okay.
yeah, still eating completely normal. I had done like the little fad diets here and there, but the Mediterranean one did during COVID for maybe about a month, but didn't last super long term. And then start of senior year of high school was kind of the beginning of everyone was going out to eat again, you know, like everyone's kind of getting back into things. So it was very much so treating it as normal life, going out, getting ice cream with my friends, all of that. But this was probably like the peak of the pain. Like I was noticing the pain every single day between the bloating. The cramps were so bad that it was hard to leave my bed sometimes. I just kind of felt icky. Like I had really bad nausea in the morning, and like it would sometimes go away throughout the day. Like I would literally be like, is this morning sickness? Like that's what it felt like. Like it literally, it literally felt like that. Stool inconsistency was an issue. My stomach would like, when it was hungry, I didn't realize that it wasn't normal for, like your stomach growls a little bit.
Yeah.
But like when my stomach would growl, it was so loud. And I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
I like very much so thought like, oh, everyone's stomach like growls that loudly. So like at school, I was so embarrassed all the time.
Grumbling stomach.
Yeah, because my stomach would just make like even just all these noises. Like it was always making noise. And so my parents were, we were lucky enough to find a functional medicine doctor.
Okay, so you turned to functional medicine doctor senior year of high school.
Yep, and one of my mom's clients had recommended him to us and said that he had helped her husband, and so she was like, you have to have Sicily try like working with him. And so fortunate enough that we were even able to afford working with a functional medicine doctor.
Insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Your normal doctor's not going to recommend you.
Exactly. And the beginning of working with him, we sat down and like went through literally all of my history from like being in the hospital in 2007 for asthma to, and maybe pneumonia, I don't know, something. And then being on a ton of antibiotics as a kid, but just like being sick all the time, like kind of as normal kids are.
Yeah, they just throw those antibiotics on you, and it leaves a detrimental, lasting impact on your gut.
Right, which is what I like learned throughout this whole process. We even went through everything from like exercise to sleep patterns to going through the health history. And so I started working with him, I think in September of my senior year.
Okay. And he was asking questions all related to lifestyle almost. Like not even just tell me about your stomach, but tell me about everything in your life.
Stress. He asked me about stress and like how are your anxiety levels and things like that, because I told him that like my sophomore year of high school I started seeing a therapist because I like realized I had anxiety, and he was like, oh, okay, like that's like a really like good thing to know too. And he was the first person that like he told me how I was feeling. Like I explained the symptoms and he was very much so like, I understand how you're feeling, and would be like, oh, so when you feel this, does it also feel like this, and does it hurt here, and like would break it down. And I literally remember sitting there just being like, yeah,
you're awestruck because you're finally for the first time getting this like cause and effect almost.
And like he could just relate. And I kind of was like lucky in the way of he had gone through something really similar. Like he also struggled the end of his high school with everything with his stomach and like figured it out. And so he could very much so relate to like exactly what I was going through, which was also really cool. But just sitting there and like having a doctor explain how you were feeling instead of you explaining it to them was just so monumental and just different from anything I had done before. But yeah, so I remember starting with him in like September because we like met, talked, and he was like, okay, like I think I'm gonna have you get blood work done. I want you to do a stool test, and you're also gonna do like this breath test at one point. And
Breath?
yeah, I don't remember what the breath test was looking at. But it did get lost. I do remember that.
Oh,
and so we
goodness.
didn't even get the results of it. And it was the literal worst thing ever because for 24 hours, I had to like fast for a certain amount of time. Then for 24 hours, all I could eat was ground turkey and rice with like salt and pepper. Like that was it.
Ugh.
And I couldn't eat ground turkey or rice for a solid amount of time after this because
Yeah,
I was
I don't
so
blame you.
like, this is disgusting. Like I can't do this.
The PTSD.
Yeah, and then it ended up getting lost. Like, I literally remember being so upset about it, but I don't really know what it was looking at because we never got the results, so I don't remember. But I, like, was meeting with him and then was going to go on a retreat for school. We have our Logos retreat as seniors. And he was like, okay, like, starting after this meeting, like, I want you to be gluten and dairy. Like, I want you to start cutting everything out, right? And I was like, okay, like I'm going on this retreat, like I'm not going to be able to cut everything out.
No.
But I also feel so crappy that I don't want to feel terrible on this retreat. So he told me to just like go gluten and dairy free for this retreat. Okay. Now, this is the first time in my life I've ever been gluten and dairy
on a retreat. Oh God.
And it wasn't like, I had like a few of my friends on this retreat, but not like a ton. So like I was just going with random classmates.
And it's
like,
hard. I mean, you're not eating bread. You're not eating cheese. You can't have pizza, bagels, pancakes, waffles, milk.
And it was the first time I even had to like email a teacher to be like, hey, I need accommodations for this. Like, I'm gluten and dairy free. Like, will I have accommodations? And the retreat center was awesome. And I had accommodations all weekend. It was great. And it was a really, honestly, cool experience to be on because you're so separated from the rest of the world that, like, it was very easy to come back after and be like, okay, I'm starting now.
Oh,
like, it was, like, it wasn't like I had to be like, okay, I'm starting on Monday, I'm starting on Tuesday. Like, it was just like, I'm starting after the retreat when I come back to the world and like face everything. And it was also cool because I was able to talk about what I was going through to like these peers because it was all about opening up and talking about your life and your walk with Jesus and all that fun stuff. And so it was cool to like open up to these random classmates that were just kind of like there to like understand and like listen
just
about
to
it.
Listen and be like, hey, here are the fears that I had. Like, was it scary going into that?
Very much so, yeah. And I knew it was also hard because I knew when I ended the retreat what was going to start and how it was going to be this whole process. And I think when I first started it, I was honestly most excited just because I saw that light of like, I can feel better. Like, I can't wait to just feel better.
Yeah, you'll do anything at that point.
Yeah. I was so dedicated to doing literally anything it was going to take because I felt so crappy before. So once Logos ended, we got back. I started for real with the diet, and it was pretty much only protein and vegetables. There were
everything
else. No nuts, no beans, no nightshades. So like tomatoes, no potatoes, no peppers, no eggplant, no sugar, very, very limited fruit because that is so high in sugars. So I was eating kind of like, I remember eating a lot of cassava chips, plantain chips, drinking bone broth all the time.
Our favorite. And what did the doctor say, or like, do you remember kind of when he explained to you like, hey, you're going to go on this diet? Why did he want to put you on such this strict diet of you can't eat X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, it was to weed out everything. So he was like, we're going to strip it all the way back and have you just eat this stuff so that once we get your stomach in a better place using supplements and like seeing the results of the tests, then we can start adding the foods back in and we can see what foods are inflammatory to your stomach.
What hurts then after.
Okay. What doesn't react well. So the whole intention the whole time had always been to go back to eating gluten and dairy. Like, it wasn't at the beginning that like, oh, you will forever not be able to eat any of this.
Yes. Just kind of figuring out what is causing the problem.
Yes, exactly. So
I love that.
Yeah. And it was big on like double the protein. Like, I had to get a ton of protein and like no carb.
You don't realize until you really start to focus on your eating how limited, or I'm trying to think of the right word, like depreciated or
deficient. Our bodies are, yeah.
In these nutrients or protein.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't realize too how much dairy was a huge part of my diet and how much like quote unquote protein I got from dairy.
Oh.
And I would like eat like Greek yogurt or just like different things that I would get like dairy, like protein from. And cutting that out was such an adjustment too, because I was like, I didn't even know what to eat. Like,
no, and you're in high school, and I mean, you're trying to make these adjustments while you're going to school, and you're hanging out with friends, and like you said, you go get ice cream after the football games.
Yep.
I mean, you go get dinner at a burger joint. Like, what are you eating with your friends, and how did you kind of like combat that situation? Be like, did you go with them and just not eat, or were you like, hey, I'll meet you guys after? Like, how did you battle that in such a like critical time of your life?
Yeah, I mainly would go with them and normally just eat before. It was a blessing that it was still kind of COVID times in the way of I went to school every other day. So I was at home like 2 or 3 times a week. So I didn't have to pack a lunch every single day for school. And then I also, with going out with friends, we were still kind of in that limbo phase where we were kind of going to restaurants, but maybe not quite going to restaurants. If we were, it was like fast food to grab quickly, which I definitely couldn't eat anything at. And so my dad especially was just such a saint in all of this and like helping me like cook. And we all as a family just kind of learned how to like adapt to what I had to eat. And so I would just normally make dinner before I would leave and then go out with friends. And same thing, getting ice cream after a football game. I just wouldn't partake in getting ice cream. I think I did a good job at not limiting myself of not going to those things.
That's awesome.
Even though I couldn't really like eat it.
But you could still enjoy the time with your friends. Yeah. That's great. And having that support system of your parents and really, I'm sure, made a big difference.
And even with my friends, I was so lucky to be in such a stable like friend group at the time. And I mean, they're still all in my life, but they were so awesome about understanding the food stuff and just like being okay with it. Not even like, they didn't ask me a lot of questions about it, which I appreciated in the way of it wasn't like, oh, like tell me everything that's going on, like what's going wrong with this. Like it was very like, oh, like Sicily like can't eat anything, like let's be mindful of that.
Yeah, and you don't want them to have to make a big deal about it.
Yes,
be like,
exactly.
oh, we can't go there, she can't eat this.
Yep.
So that's really awesome that you had those good friends.
Yeah, I didn't feel like a burden to like anything we were doing, but they still appreciated it. And like even now, like it's so awesome having friends that like are very aware of it and being like, wait, can you eat anything though if we go here? And just like I think that's such a big fear of everyone when like they start having food sensitivities.
So scary.
Is like, am I gonna be a burden to everyone in my life? And I was fortunate not to be a burden to my family too, because I mean growing up we ate pretty healthy too, so I think that was even harder with everything. Was just like I eat so healthy, I ate so healthy growing up, like I'm confused, like how does this happen to me? Like I didn't understand.
So many questions.
Yeah. And so on top of eating everything, so I got blood work done for that doctor. So we started to analyze like all the results of the tests. And he analyzed my blood work in a way that no doctor had literally ever done before, in the way of everything was technically for me like, and I say this like in quotes, like in range with the lab results.
It always is. Because their range is 100 milligrams or, whatever the range. It is insane.
I didn't realize at the time that like the ranges are just compared to the same people that have been tested for that blood work around you, like in your area.
You're like, great, you're comparing me to a 7-year-old man.
Yeah,
I'm like, glad we're in the same range.
No one else my age is getting tested for some of the same stuff.
No.
Like, so yes, like that's exactly, I'm being compared to like elderly that like are not like.
So that would be like your regular doctor, but then this functional medicine doctor, he had a different range for you.
So yeah, so he would analyze the range and be like, this is what the range is. You're pushing so close to the tip of that range on the low or the high scale. And he would literally like, and we can dive into like specific blood work, like another episode, but he would write like notes on the side of like each one and be like, you can see that this number is like way too high, or he'd be like, this number is not where I would like it to be. Like I like someone your age and like how healthy you are should be here and not all the way up here.
I love that he explained it. So you could really get to like why is this happening to me and how can we fix it? And you can understand it, not just in doctor terms or like, here's this prescription I'm going to give you, but you can really understand the little things that your body is off on.
Yeah, he even like color coded it to like attribute it to kind of just like bigger groups of things. So like even like through the stool test that I took, we found that I had 3 different infections in my gut.
Oh my God.
And so he like would group those together of like, hey, there's like this overgrowth of bacteria and this infection and this, and so we can group all that together. There were holes like in my stomach lining pretty much, which he like drew out a graph. Like I think it sounds more intense than it was, but all of the results that we got explained why I was feeling every single way. So like that, for example, like the stomach lining one explained why I was hungry all the time. I used to always tell my mom, like, I was like, I don't think I'm absorbing the nutrients of my food. Like it just doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what it was. I was not absorbing the nutrients of my food because my stomach lining.
Was leaky gut? Is that what it's called? Do you remember? Because I think a lot of holes in the stomach lining have to do with leaky gut.
Yes, so it was similar along that lines, yeah. But yeah, it just confirmed everything I was feeling, which like I hadn't had a doctor or any test rather do that, because every blood work before, which I'm sure looked the exact same as this blood work, I was normal.
No one really analyzed it. The doctors didn't really want to find the root cause of it. And you're finally, after 4 years or 3 years, getting the answers.
Yeah. And I started to ask the question too, and my parents asked this too, of like, well, how did I get there? Like, how did my stomach get 3 infections? How did this all happen? And there were like a few little things we attributed it to. And I ate a ton of soy products as a kid because as a baby I was told I was allergic to dairy. Oh. And I was told that I grew out of it.
Okay.
Which I obviously maybe necessarily didn't quite grow out of.
No.
So I was like had a ton of soy products as a kid to like make up for that, and then was on so many antibiotics because I was in and out of hospitals when I was little, and then just like being sick as a kid, you get on a lot of antibiotics. And so I like we attributed it to those 2 things, and then we also just kind of attributed it to like we are now a product of society and the society we live in, and all the pesticides and everything that is just overproduced and processed, and
it's deficient of so many nutrients. The food that our society gives us is really just deficient in the nutrients that we need for our bodies.
So to kind of like start making up for a lot of these things that I didn't have or that I was deficient in, I was put on a ton of supplements. And I don't remember exactly all the supplements I was taking at the very beginning, but I do remember there was a lot. And I was on like, I know a vitamin D, a vitamin B1, a bunch of ones to kind of repair my stomach lining, fix the infections in my gut, and just kind of repair and like fight everything.
And once you started making these changes and adding these things in, did you notice a difference? How long did that difference take?
Yeah, that took a while.
To feel good.
And my doctor had told me that healing was not going to be linear. He was like, it is very much so going to be this roller coaster and this up and down process. And it so was. I would say it got like a lot worse before it got better. Wow. It was so difficult. And honestly, I don't know how I had the motivation to believe in it and to keep going, because it got to the point where like I didn't want to go to school. My stomach made so many noises, like I was in pain, I was so uncomfortable. It was discouraging because I was trying so hard, right? Like,
and you want to see an immediate reaction. You want to be like, okay, I'm going to take this supplement for a week and feel instantly better, and that's just not how our bodies work.
No. And I think that is kind of what made me keep going, was that like my doctor was upfront about how like this is going to take time, and it's going to be a very up and down process, but it was affecting my mental health. My anxiety was getting to be the worst that it had ever been. Like I also like switched therapists in the middle of all of it, and my doctor was very like, you need to be working on your mental health and like not being stressed at the same time as you're doing all this stuff with your stomach, otherwise it's not going to get better. Like
the body's one, and it all works together.
They're tied completely hand in hand. But I was also like, I was super depressed because I didn't see that light at the end of the tunnel. I was like, nothing's getting better. Like,
And you're working so hard.
yeah, like literally that's all I was thinking about. I don't remember anything I learned in school. Yeah.
What you're going to eat.
Absolutely.
How you're gonna,
I even
exhausting.
remember like finals that semester being like, he was like, you cannot be stressed this week, like, because it was such like, and I'll get to that point, but it was such a pivotal week and like everything I was working on, that he was like, you can't be stressed this week. And I had to just accept that, like, if my grades slip because I'm trying not to be stressed, like, that's okay, because you know what, at the end of the day, life moves on. I already got into colleges, like, I was fine. Yeah,
you don't remember what you got.
No. I have no
idea.
idea what I got on those tests. One of the hardest things was the nausea for me. I couldn't eat in the mornings. So I would wake up and like I went to school around like 7:15. Yeah, and I couldn't eat because I felt so nauseous in the mornings. But then there was that spiral because I knew then I would be hungry and that I needed to eat, but then if I was hungry, my stomach would make noise at school, and I wasn't going to be eating lunch till this time.
Yeah, you had to go sit through classes.
Oh, yeah. No, it was so... I would cry all the way on the way to school, like on my drive.
Just dreading the day ahead.
I remember skipping I think it was my third period class, because fifth period I had lunch, and I remember my third period class was math, and there were multiple math classes I skipped and was like crying in my counselor's office because I just like I didn't want to deal with it. And again, it was...
You hadn't ate that day. You're nauseous. Your stomach hurts.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're supposed to not go back to like our lockers because it was COVID. So it was hard to like go and grab snacks. And I didn't even really like have good snacks I could eat that would fill me up. Still, again, didn't want to eat.
Ground beef.
Yeah, right. But knew I needed to eat. And so that was just like so hard.
Yeah, talk about not being stressed out.
Right. It just kind of makes you more stressed.
Sure.
I won't share like a ton with like related to anxiety and stuff, but I remember one thing like my therapist told me to like, I don't remember if she told me exactly this or if I kind of interpreted it through things we talked about, but I started to think of my stomach as like a teddy bear instead of like, I think I used to think about it as like this like angry bear that was like I used to kind of think about my stomach as not a part of me.
You guys were enemies.
Yes, absolutely. And so I started to kind of think about turning this like angry like monster into like this like sweet teddy bear as like its connotation change. And that was something that honestly really helped me to just kind of be more positive about it, to be like there is hope at the end of this. There like something's coming, like it will get better. And I'm like also super religious, and at this time like my religion class was really helpful, and in religion we were talking about struggle and like how God put struggle in our lives and like why there's like all these different ups and downs to life. And I remember that combating very well with everything I was going through, which was like super helpful too. But so things like we're kind of up and down, slowly starting to get a little bit better. I definitely started to notice some changes. The supplements were working. Good. Then beginning of November, I got COVID. And most of my friends and I all got it at the same time. For me though, it only hit my stomach. So I didn't get the cold. I didn't lose my taste or smell, like literally nothing, but every stomach problem you could think of, I had it. Wow. And it was hard to even realize that I had COVID because
you didn't have the normal symptoms.
Right. And like the symptoms, like these were symptoms of COVID, but they were also symptoms that I had experienced before, maybe not as like intense of a degree. But so I was kind of like, oh, something in my stomach just got worse. But it was nice in the way of I could attribute it to COVID, and it wasn't like it was just this random, like my stomach got worse. But that did not help the timeline of me healing everything with my stomach. I think we ended up saying that it probably set me back around like 3 months.
Wow.
Which is absolutely crazy.
This one little illness.
Yes.
Really.
Well, and it was so hard because I remember like sitting on a call with my doctor, I think like 2 weeks after I had COVID, and it like my parents were on it with me, and it was a virtual call because I didn't have time to even go into the office, but I was literally crying on the call because I was like, I'm just in so much pain. I like can't function normally. Like I don't know what to do. And he felt so bad too because COVID was such a new thing that like,
They didn't have answers.
yes, he was like, I'm doing all the research I can in the data. And I knew he was really trying. But he was like, you're one of my first patients to get COVID and to have it affect like what we're working through. And so it was just something so new that he didn't have a lot on it, and we didn't really know how to help it. So we were just increasing supplements and increasing the Reparavite and all the supplements that like were helping to repair and fix my gut from infections the first time.
Okay.
Because he was like, what most likely happened is that the good bacteria in your stomach aren't there anymore because of this illness, and that they've been overtaken by overgrowth and bad bacteria. And so we started just kind of fighting it that way. And I think I was taking like some over-the-counter drugs. Like I started taking Imodium and things because he was like, you need to be able to function. Like you have to be able to go to school. At this point, it was like getting close to Christmas break, and so I was going to be going to, I think we went to Boston that year. So it was like I needed to be able to function and like be a human.
For sure.
But I do remember kind of in the midst of all that, I think I had like one really good week, and then Thanksgiving was the week after. And he was like, for Thanksgiving, try eating just gluten and dairy free.
Okay. So was this the first time that you added food back in, or had you slowly been?
I hadn't like tried adding anything back in, and this wasn't going to be like a long term, like eat just gluten and dairy free. This was like just Thanksgiving, you can eat gluten and dairy free, because like you want to be able to eat like gluten-free stuffing or like little things. And I felt like it was the best day of
I bet.
I was so excited, and I still remember that Thanksgiving meal and how just like amazing it was to be able to just like eat all these foods. Potatoes, mashed potatoes. I couldn't even have potatoes up until that point. So that was, I got to eat gluten and dairy free, and I remember I felt okay after, which was like really cool, but probably wouldn't have lasted like long if I had like kept doing that. And then I don't think I actually started incorporating foods back in until January.
Okay.
Because I was still healing my gut from COVID.
Months.
Yeah. The first food that I chose to add back in was cocoa beans. So that I could have chocolate.
Yes. Like, give me those.
Yes.
Chocolate
I
bars.
wanted chocolate so badly. So I was like getting like the really good like dark chocolate brands at the time, and chocolate went well when I worked it in.
Great.
And I would work in the foods for kind of like 3 days, and do like a small portion the first day, a little bit bigger, like even bigger, and just kind of like work it up that way. And was just kind of seeing what was going to work and what didn't work throughout the whole process. And at some point, and I don't really remember what point, I definitely just kind of started eating more foods. Like I think I would be out at a restaurant and be like, oh, this has like pickles on it. I didn't try pickles before. Like, let's try that. Like random things. But I did figure out like things like I can't eat raw onions.
That really hurt. You
Yeah.
could feel
Yep.
instantly when you ate it.
Yeah, my stomach would just like start like making weird noises, and something that like is not normal, and I still don't really understand, but like my stomach, like I can tell pretty quickly when I eat something that it hurts, and that it was like that food that hurt my stomach.
Well, you went through this whole process of barely being able to eat anything.
Yeah.
And so you really became in tune with your
True.
body, and you could feel and you knew
Yeah.
what was good, what was not good.
Yeah, most people
awesome.
it takes like 2-3 hours, right, for their body like process the food, and like I can normally tell pretty instantly, and especially through this. So yeah, couldn't eat raw onions, mushrooms, cabbage was another one, peanuts was one that I tried working in peanut butter, and
Kind of random.
yeah, it just didn't go well. Peanuts are super inflammatory to the gut. And so that was just one I was like, all right, guess I won't eat peanut butter again. Like, that's fine. And then gluten and dairy weren't supposed to be long term, but I just never ended up trying to work them back in, because things still were not perfect with my stomach, and it was pretty evident that they weren't anywhere close to perfect. And kind of knowing the trajectory that my stomach had gone on and how close to my doctor's that it was, he eats gluten and dairy free, and he said he was like, I'll maybe like cheat on that like 4 times a year for like big holidays or special occasions. And I still do that to this day. Like, I haven't cheated on gluten, so for 4 years I've been gluten free. But dairy, I will have cheese every once in a while.
Here and there.
Yeah, on a special occasion. But yeah, so senior year, end of senior year, was kind of just spent working in foods. Definitely a roller coaster, because when a food wouldn't agree, it would set me back a little bit, but was in a stable enough place where it was easy to bounce back from it, which was
awesome.
really nice.
Yeah.
Then the whole process of coming to college, which was terrifying.
Being in the dorm.
Yes.
And change and
Yeah.
friends and school, let alone trying to figure out your meals.
Yes. Yeah.
Would
usually be so low on someone's totem pole, but
That's
for
so true.
someone like you, it becomes a big part of your life.
Yeah, it was something that when choosing a school, I was looking at, like, does this place have options? Like, for example, like Boston College was a school that was like so high on my list. And when we went to visit, they were like, yeah, you live on campus all 4 years, and like, here are the 2 dining halls. And it was a thought to me of like, I would have to eat that dining hall food all 4 years, and they don't have great options for me. And it was really awesome coming here, because there was a restaurant on campus that was going to have like
3 meals a day.
Yeah, it avoided all the main food allergies, and so I knew I was going to be able to eat there. And
Oh, did we live off of that?
oh my gosh, we
restaurant?
lived off of it. It was not
my
great.
gosh. No, it was
not
disgusting.
good. Their desserts were great.
The desserts were great. But you knew that everything you were eating was going to be
fine.
gluten and dairy free.
Yeah. And it really, it made me feel really good. Freshman year, like, definitely partied a lot, drank a lot of alcohol.
Yeah,
like,
we did.
Somehow stomach was completely fine. And I literally to this day will never understand how, because if I tried to do that now, my stomach would be like, heck no, please don't. But then sophomore year, still eating at that same restaurant, 3 meals a day. Like, I think sophomore year we did a little bit more. We would try to cook in our sorority houses.
Yeah.
But second semester, I noticed my stomach just started to get a lot worse again. And I've now like looked back and kind of reevaluated it. And I was also super anxious. I was on exec for my sorority. There was so much going on. I was so busy. So I reached out to my doctor and started working with him again, because part of our plan was that I could reach out to him whenever for the next, I think it was like 4 or 6 years.
Oh, cool.
So reached out to him, started working with him. I got blood work done twice, once at the beginning of summer and then once most recently. And at the beginning of summer, we kind of saw like I have some levels of things that were still kind of off that we can work on. I think there was one infection that was in my gut. And so it was just kind of like, all right, let's attack harder with supplements again, get back on this. And I don't think I had been great too about like making sure that I'm staying on top of all of my supplements. And I'm sure part of freshman year and just like,
Didn't help.
yes, I'm sure that slowly deteriorated some of my stomach.
Overall, since when you started senior year, there was an improvement.
Oh, absolutely.
It was just a very much up and down roller coaster, and it needs to continue to be worked on.
Yes.
Again,
And
but
it,
like it's not.
it
ever
always
finished.
will. And I think that was like a big part of all of this, was just realizing that like there will always be times when it gets worse and it gets better, because there's going to be change, there's going to be adjustments. And like when my anxiety gets worse, my stomach gets worse, and vice versa. When my stomach gets worse, my anxiety gets worse. And so
They all coincide.
yeah, and so that's just going to be like a circle that I just kind of live with and like learn to work through. But yeah, and then now we've been able to stabilize stomach things a little bit more. Biggest thing that we realized too was just up the protein. Like protein needs to be so much higher,
Yes.
carb levels lower, which again was very hard when eating at a dining hall, because you couldn't control that. You were getting
No.
what you got.
You're like, can I have double the protein?
Which
like
was
double the meat?
2 meal swipes.
You're like, okay, fine. Like I need to eat.
Yeah.
I need to meet these protein levels.
Yeah.
Like, sorry,
Oh my
one
gosh,
little
like-
piece of chicken is not enough.
I remember how mad you and I would be when we'd get like the smallest portion, and we'd be like, can we have a little bit more? That'll be 2 meal swipe.
Okay,
Okay.
fine,
Great.
whatever.
Like,
Like I
awesome.
don't care. I don't know.
Yeah.
Use all of my week's worth of meal swipes on this one piece of chicken.
Yeah.
Please.
I would just like some normal protein.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, we were so for it.
yeah. So it's been great living off campus in an apartment and cooking and getting
Having
to eat
control.
that way. Yes, control for sure. Main issue now is hormones. And when I like met with my doctor again, I brought up, and it was something we had kind of dabbled with at the beginning, but not a ton. And so I brought up like, hey, I don't get my period often, like maybe every 6 months, like just
That doesn't seem normal.
no, just not normal. And in the past, it's been very like, okay, like it's fine, like you're still young. But like, I was kind of like, well, this year I'm turning 21, so like, I'm maybe not like super young now. Like, I think I need to like actually figure it out. And so that's kind of what I've been probably spending most of my energy and time with him working on. And even when we got blood work done, and we've done some hormone tests and stuff too, we've looked at different levels of hormones and testosterone and estrogen and just kind of where those are at. And then this summer he was like, I would love for you to get an ultrasound, like a pelvic ultrasound, to make sure that structurally nothing was wrong. And so I went to my OB this summer, and I literally was going just to get the ultrasound. So I sit in there and they're like,
They give you the spiel.
yeah, she's like, okay, so here's the 4 different types of birth control you could go on. And I was like, I don't want to go on birth control. Like, I'm not going on birth control.
And she was probably like, well, do you want to have kids someday?
Yes. And she started throwing around the word infertile and like all these things, which are terrifying to a 20-year-old
It's so
too.
scary.
Like that is absolutely terrifying, because we're not having kids anytime soon, but like I would love to in the future.
And they make you believe that that's your one solution and that's it.
Yeah, is just getting on birth control. And I had known enough going into it that wasn't what I wanted, and that wasn't what I was going to do. And I obviously couldn't say it to her, but I'm like, I'm here just so you can refer me to this ultrasound. Like, just give me the ultrasound, please. And yeah, so I ended up getting the ultrasound. It came back completely clean.
It's great.
And they did say, because something she was kind of looking at was like maybe PCOS. And so they did say that there was like, part of the ultrasound like showed maybe a little bit, like there was something, and I don't remember exactly what it was, that tipped off that like, okay, maybe PCOS could be something you struggle with. So then I brought all of that back to my functional medicine doctor and was like, here's what I've been told. And so that's kind of what we've come to, is that it very much so could be PCOS. We don't know for sure. But by a lot of the things that I've like described to him, he's like, yeah, like that would make sense. And so I've done just kind of like the cosmetics overhaul now, the plastics audit, household cleaners audit, started making my own cleaners, to try to just get my hormones back on track, and taking a lot of supplements for both hormones and for food. Still eating gluten and dairy free, and avoiding the foods that don't work well with me.
Yeah.
But it's an ongoing process.
For sure.
That
And-
started like 4 years ago.
Wow. And especially that hormone stuff. And that's a lot about where like I relate to you. And there are so many hormone disruptors in the world that we live in.
Many.
And it's hard to pick through your life and really see what it's affecting.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. And like you said, it's a continuous thing.
Yeah.
And you have improved so much over the 4 years, which is something to be so, so proud of, because you put in a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And it's not all the way finished, and it probably never will be fully like solved, but it's awesome to see like where you started and how far you've come.
Yeah.
And just like all the experimenting, and it's working.
Yeah. It was so crazy, even like kind of going through like, okay, here are all the things like I need to talk about, like when I'm going through my story and like to you guys, and all the things I want to share with you guys, and the things that I was remembering that I forgot about, or just like, even just like the certain symptoms that I like felt at the beginning, like that I was forgetting about because I don't feel them anymore, which is so awesome. And anytime I get like a little glimpse of like my stomach's off for like a day, I'm like reminded of like why I'm doing this, you know, like why I'm eating so well, because it can be so hard now that we feel good most of the time to just be like, okay, wait, but maybe I could eat this. And then it's like, no, you can't. Like, that wouldn't go well.
We're on the up and up.
But like, I feel good. And so it feels like it would go well. But yeah, definitely a crazy journey that, like we've said, is very much so still continuing. but at least in a stable environment now. And my doctor's goal had always been to get to the place of like being able to kind of track what might change things. And it's so much easier to do. And I mean, even through talking through this, you know, like I can say like, oh, my anxiety got a lot worse, change was coming, or I know I ate this and that probably hurt my stomach yesterday, like whatever. And so it's such a more peaceful place to be at.
It's awesome. And you really became in tune with your body and listened to your body and made those adjustments based on how you felt, which is so awesome. And I think a lot of people can relate and really should become more in tune with their body.
Yeah. And if any of you are listening and you do relate to this, one, I'm very sorry because I know it sucks and it's so hard. But two, I'm glad you're listening, and I hope you continue to listen because I think we're going to have a lot of really awesome episodes to come and advice on things, hormone related and stomach related, and just health overall.
So true. We have really been battling with these things for a while, and we'll continue to dive into what those hormone disruptors look like and specifically why these certain foods don't work for your stomach and why raw onions make it hurt. And so little things like that, we're really excited to continue to dive into and make more episodes and just, one, become more knowledgeable for ourselves and also share with you guys.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys in another 2 weeks.
We will. Thanks for listening, and we can't wait to continue refining our lives together. Bye.
Bye.